Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Becky. As you've already heard, I'm a junior platform engineer at Wealth Wizards, and I will try and live up to the title of my talk. I'll let you decide about the last part, whether I'm a professional learning human or not. I thought let's start with a little bit of a story, because who doesn't love a story? So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about me. So my background is in education. For 7 or so years, I was a primary school teacher with various other responsibilities. And I just got to a point where it wasn't right for me anymore. So I started looking at what else I could be doing. And I decided that I wanted to move into tech. So I started to teach myself in my evenings, my weekends. And then, like quite a lot of other people this year, I made the jump from my old career to tech in the middle of a global pandemic, which was quite an experience. But it's been terrifying and exciting all at the same time. So from that experience, I've learned quite a lot about myself, and I've learned quite a lot about what learning effectively means. So I thought I'd share just a couple of those things with you. So first, what works for you and what do you enjoy? As a teacher in a classroom with 30 children, you learn very, very quickly that all those personalities have different ways and speeds of learning. They're not motivated in the same way, and you have to find a way of bringing all those little people with you. For some reason, I feel like when we're adults, we forget that a little bit, or at least I did. So when I started trying to learn to code, what I did is pick the first language that someone told me to learn, even though I didn't like it. And I sort of found a chunk of video courses, rattled through them at the speed of light, didn't really get the course concept. And I just got myself in a real mess. I wasn't happy and I wasn't really making good progress. So I stopped. And I thought a bit about what I actually wanted. And I realized I needed something that I enjoyed. And I thought back about the times in the past when I'd learned really well and the times when it hadn't gone so well for me. Because just as important as what works for me, actually, if something doesn't work, why am I doing it? And, you know, it's quite easy to go and sort of have those conversations with yourself and do a bit of Googling around learning styles and those sorts of things. So I thought I'd share, rather than those things, some of what worked for me. So the thing that got me hooked was finding a language that I actually enjoyed. So I found that I really liked reading and writing Python. So regardless of where it got me, that's how I started. That was my way in. And anyone who knows me knows that I don't like standing still for very long. I need to feel like I'm always progressing and making progress. So I needed those like small incremental challenges to feel like I was improving. And for me, code katas were a really good way of starting to do that, because they're leveled. So you can start off with an easier one and move to harder ones, but also, you know, you can have a go at it. I've solved the problem, but actually, can I refactor this? Can I find a better way of doing it? So it was quite a good way of going, okay, I did that before, but I can do this better now. And I still do that a bit. I found and one of the tools I'm using in my current job is Kubernetes. So I started doing bits and pieces of practice tests just to sort of have a go at solving the problems and see what I could do and what I couldn't. And it gives me that sort of continual sense of achievement. So yeah, what works for you and what do you enjoy? I think is really important. The value of feedback. I really love feedback. Learning can be really isolating, and there's this danger of you don't know what you don't know. So how do I know that when I'm doing this, I'm not ending up going down some sort of massive rabbit hole? How do I know that I'm not just reinforcing some sort of mistake? I don't know enough to know that. So I need someone outside of my little bubble to tell me what I'm doing well and where I'm going spectacularly wrong. And I was quite lucky, because to start with, I had some friends who knew how to code and knew different things about engineering and were willing to look at my terrible pull requests. But actually, it was really good, because the more comments I got about what I needed to do differently, the better I felt, because I knew where I was going wrong and how I could progress. And the other way that I think was really helpful to get that feedback was through meetups, especially where there's an opportunity for coaching and mentoring. So I would really prep for those. I would think exactly what I wanted to do. I'd have a project, I would pre-read, write a lot of questions. So it was quite an intense sort of hour or 2 hours. But that quality time with someone who is willing to give that attention and say, this is what you get, this is what you really don't get. I think I got more out of those sessions, and still now pairing sessions at work, than almost anything else that I've done. And I'd say that places like this are a really good way of finding people that you can have those conversations with. So it might be a good place to have a chat after this when we go back to Kumo Space. And if you are that person who is that step ahead, who already knows that little bit more, coaching and mentoring can be a really good sort of learning experience in itself, I think. This is the third one. It's just, sometimes life is just hard and learning is just hard. And I'm having to learn not to be a hypocrite about this, because when I was a teacher and I was in school, you know, children would say to me, Miss, I don't get this. And my response would be, great, you don't get this yet, you're about to learn something. And that's great to say to someone else, and it is true, but it is so much harder when the person who doesn't get it is you. So I'm having to learn to live with that discomfort and tell myself, okay, the harder this is now, the more I'm struggling, the more I can't deploy this, and I think I've read all the documentation, the more I'm about to actually learn something really important, and to sort of lean into that and embrace the struggle a little bit more. But alongside all those things, and I know I sort of didn't want to use this phrase, but it is actually true. Our brains can only take so much information. We are human. And actually, we learn best when we're rested, and we learn best when we feel safe. That means safe to ask questions, and it also means safe to make mistakes. And I think the best workplaces actually understand this too. So really, although the title of my talk was How to Learn Quickly, I would say that that best learning and the way to make the best progress, perhaps it's actually about slowing down, really thinking about what you want to achieve, and learning really, really well. Thank you for listening.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Oh, look at that, all the silent clapping. It's kind of eerie.